We are at the Bangor Sea Dog, and I am joined by Josh Harvey and Primo Bellarosa as we get ready to look forward to NEF 42, February the 8th in Portland, when Josh faces Jesse the Viking Erickson. What's up, fellas? It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Yeah. Happy to have you back in this beautiful location. As you were just saying, Josh, looking over the river here at the Bangor Sea Dog. Thank you, Bert Falero, for everything that you do for the Bangor.
Thank you for the lovely brown ale.
Yes.
And the kombucha.
Yeah. So a lot to get here to today. First and foremost, Josh, excited to see you step back in the cage. This is a really interesting fight too. Jesse is a veteran. He has quite a few fights under his belt for the NEF promotion. But you did have another fight lined up, and I want to talk to you guys about that first. This is with a fellow by the name of Jonathan Hines, and the fight was canceled because he was not cleared by the commission because he took another fight. I know this got to be pretty frustrating for you. How difficult was that to, I guess, get ready for a fight and then have it just kind of taken away because of a mistake like that?
I mean, for any mistake, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of, as everyone knows, just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, especially in this sport.
Right.
Like, whether it's, personally I had that weight cut issue, or other people have other opportunities that they feel are better for their career. Can't fault someone for that, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Now, I wanted to ask you, Primo, as his head coach, I was curious about this fight because his record was 3-24. Mm-hmm. It seemed like a dangerous fight, kind of like a lose-lose situation for Josh.
He'd had over 50 professional kickboxing matches.
Oh, wow.
As well. So, and has a, pretty decent kickboxing record.
Okay, but so when you're trying to get him to the next level, you've mentioned before, Contender Series, Bellator, eventually the UFC. Those options are clearly on the table here in the near future. Why take a fight with a guy with a 3-24 MMA record? Mm-hmm. Anything can happen in a fight, as we all know. It just seems like it would be a dangerous thing for someone that is really on that doorstep to get to the next level.
So here's what what was the gentleman's name again?
Jonathan Hines.
Jonathan Hines. He's an absolute piece of shit for missing that fight. I'll say it. I don't care, and I don't remember his name because he's really not worth it.
Thank you.
Yeah, he'll be a footnote in the fight world. So. The reason why, as a coach, I thought that was a good fight was I don't so much care what Josh is doing in the lead up to a fight. Mm-hmm. I care about the overall picture for Josh right now, and I wanted to see Josh really be able to work some stand up in a fight. I think. We all know that Josh has excellent wrestling.
Yep.
He's got a number of submissions. To his credit, some real slick stuff, and I wanted to see him get in and work his stand-up a little bit against the gentleman in question with over 50 stand-up fights. A guy with that much stand-up experience offers a different look and a different pace than somebody who doesn't have a lot of stand-up experience, right? So, in general, especially when it comes to MMA fighters, if they're not like real stand-up guys, they come in and they fire real hard and they fire real awkward, and you kind of get always forward, and they present themselves for a takedown. Well, put a bone in front of a dog and he's gonna take it. You know what I mean? Whereas a guy like this with a lot of stand-up experience is gonna come in and he's gonna have a much more pace, easy pace to it. He's gonna stick some feeler jabs out there, and my opinion on that as a coach was that would allow Josh to get into a rhythm and not get forced into a dogfight.
Sure.
Where he has to fight right away.
I like a dogfight.
Absolutely. But I really wanted to, and I watched this guy stand up, and in my opinion, in a pure stand up fight, Josh was going to beat him anyways. But I felt like that was, although on the MMA record side of it looked like a bad mismatch.
Yeah.
On the stand-up side of it, it was not. And so that would allow Josh to get in, get that good professional pace and rhythm going. Mm-hmm. And I also felt like if things go bad, Josh will shoot a takedown, this kid's hips can't take it, and the fight's over anyways. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's why I felt like that was a good match and a good risk to take at that stage of Josh's career.
Makes sense. You know, when you look at a guy, I compare this guy Hines to Jay Ellis, who you know
The name
pretty well.
come to mind.
Yeah, right. So
He
Jay
will
Ellis.
not be a footnote.
Yeah.
He's a hero in his story.
Yes, yeah, no doubt. But what does he have? Like 100 MMA fights now at some point.
For pioneers everywhere.
It's crazy how many mixed martial arts fights he has. And you look at him, the guy's a specimen. He's doing backflips and stuff inside the cage. So you know,
And the dude will bring hell in the first 2 minutes of any fight.
Like we saw, especially against Ryan Sanders. You know, he had him on his back there.
But he doesn't have that professional stand-up pace that you're talking
Right,
about.
he doesn't have that professional stand-up pace.
He has that.
I guess my point is with someone that is that physical of a fighter, he looks the part, he clearly is athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can happen in a fight. For me, I guess if I was his coach, I would be nervous, I guess, setting him up against someone because it would be detrimental.
We weren't looking to stand and hang out with Jay Ellis.
Right.
No.
It was
because he brings that wild,
right.
Pace. It's always like the fight game is risky anyways.
Sure.
Period. Right. And so, at least at the beginning stages of your career, it's in my opinion, it needs to be and always should be calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have risk, and how am I able to mitigate that with what I know?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And a lot of it is, I say a lot of times I'm looking for fights often that on paper look even, but I know it's not even.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Or I'm looking for a fight like sometimes like with a Jay Ellis, this other idiot. It looks like this is a risky fight for somebody at Josh's level, but I've estimated the risk and we need to get this kind of work, so the risk is worth it.
Sure.
You know?
I'll vouch that coach doesn't gamble. He knows he's going to win if he's betting.
Yeah.
He's going to win.
Yeah, I don't bet on anything that I can't control.
I can't stop myself from betting with him anymore.
Yeah. Like I won't gamble on a roll of the dice.
Right.
But I'll gamble on I can do that.
Pig scrambles.
Yeah. I bet on pig scrambles.
Makes sense. And I did want to get your take on his most recent fight with Dominic Jones. I spoke to you after the fight, Josh. I got your take. Originally, he was supposed to fight Ricky Dexter.
Yep.
As you said, you felt like it was kind of still of a similar matchup, Dom style versus Ricky style. Overall, how pleased are you with his performance? Obviously, round one, Americana victory.
Yep.
Got to be pretty impressed, I imagine.
I'm not going to talk about the things that I'm not pleased about.
Okay.
Because I'm just
Americana.
I'm just not. I'm not going to give that away.
Okay.
But I will say this: no performance is 100% bad or good. Mm-hmm. Okay. The good things that Josh did was at one point, and I told this to Josh. Josh listened really well in that fight. And that's always something where, we can train as hard as possible, and he can go out there and do the things that we trained, which is what you want to do. But he also needs to be able to listen to the corner, And that's something, again, when you're looking forward and looking at the big picture, it's like, oh, wow, you went out and you dismantled this dude, but you didn't hear a word I said. And we only got so many fights before we're at a level where you have to listen.
You got to be listening.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Let's talk about that evolution, I guess, as a coach and student here. Everyone knows you left Young's MMA. You're with Primo full-time, Vision Quest Muay Thai. By the way, I love the shirts.
Thanks, man.
I think I need to get one of those.
We'll get you one.
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
But talk about, I guess, that evolution as your friendship, your mentorship, just this whole relationship in general, how it's been evolving.
At this point, it's almost meme-worthy. You know that one where the hobbits are going from the Shire?
Yeah.
And it's we're on an adventure.
Yeah.
Except
Right,
for I got a guy who's already blazed that trail.
Right.
He's been down this path before, so, and I feel really confident in listening to what he has to say, and that's why it seems like I am listening because I hear him.
Yeah, and we've gotten the opportunity now where. Like his other fights where I wasn't up here full time, Josh would come down and do as much work as he could in a short period of time. And when I came up, we'd get as much work in a short period of time as we could. But it's, we weren't getting that every day. Mm-hmm. We're seeing each other and we're talking and we're training and, I'm holding pads for him, and now he's understanding, I don't have to say full sentences to get the things that I want, and I might call for a combination like this, and 10 minutes later I call for it a slightly different way, and he understands it still.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? He's knowing now what we want, and I think like Josh made a good point that, not that he didn't trust me before, but in the heat of battle, you fall back on your instinct.
Sure.
And I think his instinct now is starting to become, I can listen, I can hear what's going on. You know?
And those combinations and stuff make sense as far as in the heat of battle. When what's being called for doesn't make sense, you will stop listening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Now, you just got back from Florida. You were down there training for quite some time. Are you an advocate of this? Do you like him going out of state training with other gyms?
There's a timing thing here. So he's moving here from New York as well.
Right.
So, and the grappling aspect.
Right.
Like I did some roles with some gyms in the area who would have me. They're tough dudes, and there's a lot to be had there. But Jesse Erickson, to his credit, I've rolled with him before. He's slick. I mean, I don't think he's ever submitted me.
But he's a legit black belt.
Legit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I like Jesse. Congratulations on getting your black belt. He just got that. You know what I mean? Like, and he's legit.
I'm still white.
well, we all are white.
White.
So it's one of
I
those,
felt it.
and we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, just in bullshitting a little, but things are different in Maine. There's not as big a population. When I was in New York and I had a gym, my guys didn't cross train. They didn't need to. I had enough partners for them to work with, and I had the ability to do all their coaching.
Sure.
To go and cross train somewhere else, all you're doing is making it so that I've got to correct the things that somebody else had you doing, because again, I've got a big picture in mind for any athlete I train. They're not all going to be the same, but I've got a big picture in mind for them. And so when you go somewhere else, that's time away from training in the system that we're spending our whole time training, but it's also like, you're learning other things, and that's good to learn, but they might be absolutely contradictory to the things that I'm
Sure.
projecting.
Yeah.
In Maine, there just aren't as many people around, and so you've got to cross train a little bit in order to be able to get some work in. The other thing that Josh had said, I was building my house in the last 5 months, and recently loaded up my U-Haul in New York and moved my wife up. I finally finished
Congratulations,
the house. Thank you.
by the way.
Thank you. But I don't have a gym right now. People at the outlet in Dexter have been super kind to us.
Thanks.
Yeah. Gave us a key. Come and go as you please so you can get your training in. But I don't have a gym with a bunch of guys in it and that ability. So at times Josh needed to go somewhere else in order to get some work in that I just couldn't provide him right now. Now the house is built, I'll get a gym going, and then I'll be able, to provide that stuff for him. So.
Now, are you going to plan on building the gym like on location where your house is at, or you looking?
No shit where you eat.
Yeah, definitely won't go where my house is.
Okay.
That's about all I could say.
Yeah. All right. One question I did have for you, and obviously Josh can take care of himself. He's clearly an elite mixed martial artist here. But when you're a guy that's going and getting cross training at another gym, especially out of state down in Florida, he almost could. But for some people, be like a marked man. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They could look at him like, "Geez, I don't like him," or for whatever reason.
I've earned my stripes down at Top Team.
Yeah,
I've been going there off and on for I think 3 years now. At Top Team Orlando, and recently at Orlando East, which is a great. Their accolades as far as jiu-jitsu, like world title holders, D1, 4-time All-American coach. There's not that in Maine.
Right.
And that sets my mind at ease also. Like, Josh has been going down there for 3-4 years, off and on, getting some training in. So, on any given day, he'll step on the mat and there's 5 guys that don't know who he is,
right.
But there's 3 or 4 that Josh is
okay.
here right now.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit
bit more of that familiarity.
And we had
right.
that tiff with now. I'd like to consider him a friend, Philip Rowe. The last time that I was down there, and him and I got heated. Whether it was his fault or my fault, it was my fault. And then Mike Perry come over and kind of like squished it for us. But
what did Mike say? He's
house.
an interesting guy. I don't know if anyone follows him on Twitter, but
Mike and I actually co-hosted Absolute Muay Thai Greatest Knockouts.
I did see
together.
that.
So, he's a cool dude.
Yeah. So what did he come over and say? Because
he just come over with that Mike Perry swag and settled the situation, and we all talked in the parking lot after. I have respect for that house and everyone in it. Paul Rodriguez, the black belt and coach down there. As much as I love Muay Thai and striking MMA with Primo, Paul has a way of like his jiu-jitsu, and it's pure jiu-jitsu that makes sense. A lot of jiu-jitsu schools are like sport jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
But I feel like he's fought MMA enough to know.
He has that perspective.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. He's been on bottom trying to get a heel hook and get punched in the head. Doesn't make sense.
Yep. Well, it's the same as wrestling. You know what I mean? You can learn great wrestling from a Division I All-American, but he's never fought in his life.
Right.
So you've got to kind of or I know Division II wrestlers, Division III wrestlers that are great wrestlers, not a Division I All-American, but they've had a pretty good MMA career, and now their wrestling for MMA is better than what you're going to get from that Division I All-American a lot of the time.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. So with that being said, now he's back in Maine. The fight's right around the corner, just a couple of weeks from now. How has this camp been as far from your point of view for Josh? With the work that you have gotten in with him, how do you feel like he's looking as he's getting ready to go and face a tough guy?
Oh, he's he's ready to eat the boogers out of a dead man's nose and ask for seconds. You know what I mean? Like
I've never heard that analogy before. That's great.
He's
side of grapefruit.
Yeah. He's ready to go. We had a tough go of it last night, and the night before, we had a tough go, and it was one of those I always say this with any fighter as a coach, like you kind of, it can't happen in week 1 of an 8-week training camp, but somewhere between week 6 and the end of week 8, as a coach, you kind of look for those moments where you can't control your fighter anymore, where you can't hold him back, and Josh is hitting that. You know what I mean? And that's a moment that I look for when I'm hitting pads, and I'm like, give me 1, 2, 3, and they throw that 1, 2, 3, and I make a little bit of a move, and they're on something else, and I didn't call for that, but it's not wrong. You know what I mean?
It's something you would have called for.
Yes, you know what I mean?
And you would never call for a 1, 2, 3.
Right. But, you know what I'm saying? So I look for those moments as a coach. If it's happening too early in a training camp, then I start to feel like you're uncoachable.
Sure.
If it happens towards the end, it's because your mind is so sharp that I'm asking for 2 things, and you're thinking of 3, 4, and 5 afterwards,
Just don't throw that leg kick at you.
Yeah, don't throw a leg kick at me.
Don't do that.
Life gets rough.
How's this weight cut been? I know we're still a little ways away, but you're not fighting at 45 this time. This fight will be at 55, correct?
Yeah, it'll be a cakewalk.
So what do you weigh
without the cake?
Without the cake. So I'm sure you got to stay away from cake just to get down to 55. You get upwards of the high 70s, low 80s anyways. What's your weight this second?
I was like, what was it this morning? I don't remember.
Oh, I didn't check your weight this morning.
All right,
but I'm gonna say he's in the low 70s. Right?
Low 70s. So as his career unfolds and he gets older here, do you anticipate him fighting at
71.2? By the way,
70?
171.2.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
So you're not too far away, and you still got plenty of time to make that 55 marker.
Yeah, we'll make that.
But featherweight moving forward, is that still the weight class where you feel like once he takes that next step and is fighting at the higher levels, 145 is where he needs to be?
I say we do it at this level.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that actually makes sense and get that consistency of it not being a struggle. That way, when you're at the next level, you don't pull a Manny Bermudez and have troubles.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important. It's important. A lot of the time, I've had guys fight in the UFC, and kind of the game plan years ago was you got a 45er. He's a legit 45er, but making 45 is tough. And so, on the regional circuit, but he's still good at 55. So on the regional circuit, you let him fight the right guys at 55, and then you let him drop to 50 for 1 when like he is right there to get into a big show. and then you have one last fight to hit that 45. You prove to the big shows that you can make 45, and then you know what I mean. So
Sure.
you didn't kill yourself for no money making that 45.
Yeah,
all
not
the
that it's
time.
all
You know
about
what
the
I mean?
Benjamins.
But you know what I'm saying.
Two friends named Ben.
You know, but then you have guys that like they ain't gonna be no good at 55,
Right?
Even on a regional level, and so life sucks for you. You're gonna have to cut a bunch of weight and make sure that you hit 45 all the time. You know, it just is what it is.
Yep.
You know, Josh can compete at 55, and you know we still got to be consistent at 45, and I think 45 is where he's the best. And I think that, you know, when he makes a big show, it'll be 45. And at that point, if it, you know, because he's getting older, he's getting bigger, just like everybody. You know what I mean? You've been fighting for how many years?
I mean, MMA?
Yeah,
7 years competing.
7 years at this point. You know what I mean? Like a body goes through a lot of changes over 7 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, 45 might have been easier before. So if it turns out that it has to be 55, then we make some adjustments the other way.
Sure.
Where, you know, we change his diet the other direction, and we change his conditioning program the other direction.
Now we're lifting heavy.
Yeah, so that he's just as big and brawny at 55.
I know it's going to vary fighter to fighter and whatnot, but I've always found the weight cutting situation very interesting, you know, because really it can be problematic.
Absolutely.
When you get upwards
about
of you know 180 pounds making 145. I mean, I am glad I'm not in your shoes to have to do that. I don't think I could do that. So
It sucks.
Yeah, you mentioned Manny Bermudez earlier. This is a really interesting card, top to bottom. I mean, NEF 42 is a great card down in Portland at
Matt
the Narrow
Peterson
Auditorium.
has outdone himself on this.
Very much so. Really great card, headlined by Manny Bermudez and Bruce Boyington, who you know very well. I'd like to get your guys' take.
I like to think I know them both fairly well.
Okay, yeah.
Take on the fight or take on the people individually.
No, just the fight. We don't need to get into any of the extracurricular stuff.
Career-wise.
Yeah, career-wise. Yeah, I'm really curious about this fight because, as we all know, Manny Bermudez cut by the UFC basically just because of weight issues. Couldn't make
Like Coach was
bantamweight.
saying about, so I think on the regional level, he could compete at such a high weight. I think we've even seen him out catch weight to 60 when he's actually has made 35, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
he's made 35.
He has, and
but
he
he's
told
fought
me
at 60,
which is crazy.
and I've seen him, you know, out of camp, definitely walking 60 or more. I think that's something that if it had been adjusted at the regional level,
Could have
could have
made
been
his
avoided.
right.
I wish that it wasn't a problem because he is that level.
Yeah, I spoke to him the other day, and he told me he got up to about 180 pounds in betwing camps. So
like 5'7", 5'8".
It's crazy talk.
yeah, so trying to make 135 pounds for a guy that gets
Crazy
that
talk.
big is
Lay off the empanitas. Like, seriously, okay, so
on.
I'm going to say this, and I know Josh has missed weight.
So I can't say this.
There is a special place in hell for child molesters, mutineers, and people that miss weight. That's just a fact.
It's okay.
If you miss weight, it is no one's fault but yours. Full stop. That's it. You know what I mean? Because I can't slap food out of your mouth.
Right.
Right? If you miss weight, one of two things has gone wrong. You either have chosen the wrong weight class, which is on you, or you let yourself blow up too much in between fights. Period.
Right.
That's it.
It's 100% the fighter's fault when they don't make weight. No doubt about
my
it.
weight cut didn't go good. Bullshit. Then you started too high. That's it. You know what I mean? Like it is cut and dry like that.
So
you know?
From a technical standpoint, how do you guys see this fight going? Because I'm really interested about this fight. I believe this to be Bruce's toughest fight of his career, maybe outside of like a Andre Harrison that we saw him fight at World Series of Fighting. But that level of a guy, I think Manny's
I
that
think it's
good.
probably one of his toughest fights ever.
Like I said, I think it's Manny's fight to lose on paper, but Bruce can make him lose this fight.
Bruce beats a lot of people
I love it.
that the numbers say he shouldn't fight, let
Right.
alone beat. You know what I mean? Like, and I think Bruce kind of made a career out of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I'm a fan. I've always been a fan.
Absolutely.
Since the day I walked
Listen.
into Young's and he was throwing that spinny shit, I said, "Show me something."
Yeah, like that.
He showed me it. Right up.
Right upside the head.
Yeah. Like that dude. I mean, first of all, he is not afraid to fight anyone.
Guts and glory.
Anyone. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we got this guy. He's a 14th degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? And like, and he's gonna pretzel you up because he's done that to everybody. And Bruce goes, okay, that's what's the date?
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, and he beats a lot of those guys. You know, like that motherfucker will fight, dude.
I just think it's really interesting because you got this mega fight. Obviously, the eyes of the New England MMA world are going to be on that main event fight. It's really interesting. And I'm sure once you're done with Jesse, you'll probably be a fan just like the rest of us right there cage side getting ready to watch. But regardless of what happens with this fight with Manny, then you got Matt Bessette in the wings with all that trash talk that's been going on. Yeah. So Matt Peterson has a lot of interesting fights to potentially make here moving forward. There's a lot of great promotions out there, and I feel like people
I think the PFL is a great avenue. Sorry to interject, but I just don't want to lose that train of thought.
No, like, that's why I bring it up.
Tournament style.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool. I really like watching the Glory when they do their tournament to a champion. That's something I think that the UFC fell away from, and the ranking systems in the UFC are questionable at best.
That's true.
But so I like it being purely based on results.
Mm-hmm. So what is next? I mean, obviously you're going to move away from NEF and the New England scene here eventually. It's got to be coming in the pretty near future, I would imagine.
I'm still a young pup.
I mean,
29, but like
in your career,
8 pro fights. Right. It's not like
it's everyone, including myself. You have to be careful. To not think because a fighter's beat everyone local that he's ready to go to that next level. And I'm not saying that about Josh, but I'm saying, in general, right? Toughest guy in town. Well, that means that he can go to the next town.
Toughest guy in Letterkenny.
Right? But you know what I mean? Like, but does it? And like Josh said, he's had 8 pro fights. That's not a lot of fights. And so
you hear Dana saying a lot on that Contender Series about, I think this guy's good, and I think you give him a few more tough fights, and he's ready.
And he's ready. Like the
William Knight comes to mind. Exactly. Someone that
I know. I had guys fight him in the amateurs, and that dude fights.
Oh yeah,
and,
he's a beast.
And he's one of those guys that if I can fight every 2 weeks, I'll do it. And he's game like that, and he's built up a good number of fights. Watching his fights, like. He's dangerous against anybody in the world.
He's got big time heavy hands.
He'll hang around.
Right.
You know what I mean? He can basically be losing a fight, and if he gets an opportunity to win, he jumps on it fast.
And he knows it.
And he knows, like, here's my opportunity. Let's get it. He beat one of my guys in the amateurs that way. I felt like my guy was winning for 2.5 rounds, and William got an opportunity.
Got complacent?
I don't know if he got complacent or somehow an opportunity.
Big got complacent?
I don't know. An opportunity opened up. And William jumped on it, and he won the fight. Legit. But you gotta be ready. The goal is not to get into a big show. The goal is to be able to compete and stay there, right?
So how many more fights do you think Josh is away from getting to that point where he is he's a recognizable fight?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. A lot of people ask us that. They ask, how many more fights do you think? And I can't say, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, we can and have turned down an undercard fight on Bellator. We can and have turned down opportunities on the Contender. We cannot turn down an opportunity to go into the UFC. Like a legit. It's not a Contender fight. Let's see if you can do it. It's hey, there's a UFC coming and we'd like to sign you for that. Mm-hmm. You can't turn that down.
Sure.
You just can't. So you have to be ready. So I would
stay ready. Exactly.
So you got to stay ready.
So you can do a favor.
Right.
Favors make favors.
I would like to see Josh. Again, it's kind of like this fight that just got canceled for him, where I was saying, like, yes, risky, but the guy's stand-up posed a puzzle that I needed Josh to work on at that point, right? So it's very hard to say. I would like to see Josh have 2 more fights before he gets into a big show. When in all reality, it's I've got a list of some things that I want to see Josh doing, and hopefully he's doing those things before he gets into a big show, right? That could all happen in one fight. Or it could all happen. It might need to happen in 3 fights, or it doesn't happen because they call us tomorrow and we got to pull off the NEF card and go fight in the UFC.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's it can happen at any time, and there's always stuff that a coach wants to see a fighter doing.
Sure.
And correct me, or don't correct me if I'm wrong. Let me believe something else. But I feel like I'm doing it in the room, just not. I'm not seeing
Absolutely.
it translate into the cage, and a lot of it is
experience.
Well, and I see that bone.
Yeah. Yep.
I see that bone, and I'm like, well, I could do this, but like, that looks pretty yummy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I can just take that.
Some of it is
walk away.
like it's an experience thing, and with experience comes wisdom, but it gives you it's decision making. Really, that's kind of anything for any fighter. It's what's his decision making ability, right? I'm standing up and I'm doing really good, and you see it all the time, especially in MMA. Guys are standing up, they get a guy fucking hurt, and they shoot a takedown. Why in God's name? You've got a guy on his sea legs,
right,
and you shoot a takedown because it's, I just gotta kill him. You know what I mean? But you are killing him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And all you did was give him a chance to wrap his legs and his arms around you and breathe and hope that he can get his head back together. You know, like that's, and you see that in the UFC, let alone low-level fights, right? So it's decision making, or it's that guy that gets into just a stand-up brawl, and it's because, dude, you're hitting me, I'm gonna hit you back, you know what I mean? And it's like, dude, do an ankle pick and take this dude down and call it a night. You know what I mean?
But I clearly have to ask, because that's what I think most people here around the New England scene are feeling like, well, when's Josh going to take that next step, And he has a tough fight ahead of him, as I mentioned earlier, Jesse Erickson. Yeah. I believe he has maybe the most wins the NEF has ever had.
Yeah.
I believe that's
Jesse
the record.
Jesse is a legit opponent. I believe Jesse is one of the hardest fights that Josh has seen.
So stylistically, what kind of a fight do you think the fans are going to see in Portland come February the 8th?
I think stylistically we know what Jesse's going to bring.
Okay. You think he wants to get the fight to the ground?
I think Jesse is going to throw a hard punch and some leg kicks, because that's what Jesse does. And if he can get into the clinch, he's going to try to knee, because that's what Jesse does. And I think Jesse knows that his best chance is with his jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously Josh is well known for his wrestling.
And that's not insulting to Jesse at all. I think he's very good at those things that he does. I think that he's fairly predictable. And I'm sure that he thinks that he's come up with some new things and blah, blah, but at the end of the day, everyone falls back into what they do
best.
Yep.
From an objective standpoint, I feel like, you have to be the heavy favorite going into this fight. As great of a fighter as Jesse is and how much of a veteran he
I'd
is.
like to think so, but, depends on who you're asking.
Well, how do you feel you match up with Jesse? As Coach is saying, he clearly has a great skill set. Do you feel like you're going to be able to overwhelm him regardless where the fight goes? Are you trying to maybe get a highlight reel knockout? Or do you want to beat him at what he's best at? Maybe submit him and get that blue belt maybe.
Actually. Of course, a highlight reel knockout would be cool. If I'm hunting for it, though, it doesn't happen. As far as beating him at what he does, I think he does a little bit of everything, same as me. I think he has a strong suit. I have some strong suits. Maybe we'll keep it where neither of us tend to, and see who's better there. I don't know.
Have you guys spoke personally? I know you had that face-off down in Portland at the Aura to promote this fight, but have you guys talked at all a little bit? He seems like a pretty respectful guy. I can't imagine there would be much trash talk coming from him.
Oh, we haven't spoken whatsoever, and him and I will be friends, February 9th. But until then, nothing.
What do you feel a win over Jesse Erickson does for Josh at this point in his career? Is it something that you feel like just should happen, and you're feeling like, okay, this is just that next step?
It depends on how you're looking at it. Like, and again, I will preface this by saying I think Jesse is potentially one of the toughest fights Josh has had to date. But I don't think a win over Jesse propels us anywhere or propels us into superstardom. You know what I mean? I think a win over Jesse is just that. It gets us another win. It's another check in the W column for us. But what's
for
not
fans.
That's it. I think the local fans love it. But as a coach, I I don't think it does anything more for us than getting us a win other than what's not on paper. He's a dangerous opponent that allows my guy to be able to work on things that I think he needs to work on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, this will be the first time that the NEF has had a show at the Merrill Auditorium. I don't know if
I was going to say, I love the location. The
Right.
card is set. It's prime. Everything is prime for this.
Have either of you guys been to Merrill before?
I've never seen it.
I've never seen a show in there, but I've been there, yeah.
Okay, I'm really excited. You know, not to knock Aura, but I feel like a lot of people are very happy that there's another
I told
venue.
Peterson I did not want to fight at Aura.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. The NEF has really kind of, you know, in this last year tried to step up their venue game.
I like it.
I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, I mean,
This is
I mean,
class
I guess you'll be able to tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I mean, NEF is the only promotion in Maine.
Yep. There was.
But it's like the NEF especially being the only promotion in Maine, could get away with being a banquet hall show.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like we've all gone to those shows, right?
Yeah.
Regionally.
And I like it
You know what I
green.
mean? Listen, dude, I had probably my first 7 fights were in bingo halls. You know what I mean?
Or an armory.
With you were standing on the ring and the ceiling was here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was filled with smoke. Like absolutely horrible. You know, and they were still selling tickets and making money. So like NEF, especially being the only show in Maine, they could get away with being bingo hall shows.
They could.
But Matt Peterson
But he's
has taken
not.
the
Right.
initiative.
Yeah, Matt's not doing that.
Which I think is important because, you know, mixed martial arts continues to grow. It's not going anywhere. I mean, this is a
Right.
sport
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
only
Yep.
getting bigger and better.
Yep.
And so having that legitimacy of a nice venue. I mean,
Right.
look, they might have to pay a little bit more right off the bat just to get that venue. But in the end, it classes it up a little
The
bit.
product
You know, you're
is
going to.
better.
Yeah, exactly.
And the product is better, like
Yeah.
the overall product. But the other thing is like you're not going to get a Manny Bermudez to fight at a bingo hall,
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
right? So as you step that venue and production level up, yes, it costs some more money, and it may come out of your back end. You know what I mean? But it allows you to raise the profile of the show as well,
And
which
maybe
is
it gets
which is
put
right.
on Fight Pass or something.
That's
cool,
true.
you know?
It gives you the ability to get put on a streaming
Right.
device of some type. So
I'd love to see NEF back up here at the Cross Center again,
totally,
or Orono
totally.
here
You know
soon.
what,
So.
and here's the thing too. I think like, I mean, I'll say it. I'm not kissing ass. Like I'm a fan of Matt Peterson. I think he does a really good job with his show. I think he does a good job with his matchmaking.
Because he's a true fight fan.
That's just it. People
Like, not
people
just-
forget. Like look, don't be mad at a promoter for trying to make money. You know, and that happens not just with Matt. That happens with any promoter. You know what I
definitely.
mean? Like there's the fighters and coaches, and there's the promoter.
Right.
And he sucks. He just cares about money. Well, if he doesn't make enough money to pay for this show and the next one,
Right.
there isn't a next one, right? But I think people forget because MMA's been legal in Maine for 8 years? 9? Like Matt was instrumental. Like we forget that Matt was a politician at that time. It was his bill.
Right.
He was instrumental and I remember that because I was coaching Bomb Squad in New York. We had 7 guys on that first show that was legal in Maine. You know what I mean? Like we were hyped about that. And
he was passionate from wrestling and his brother.
exactly. Like he was
it's near and dear to him as it is to you and I. And
There may not
Ryan
be
as well.
MMA in Maine.
Oh yeah,
without Matt Peterson,
No doubt
So,
about it.
He's cared about the sport
For sure.
and I think that goes into what he's trying to do with.
So we talked
his own
about
show.
pioneers of MMA in Maine.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
there's
Matt
Marcus
Peterson
Davis,
has to be on that, right?
Definitely,
Bruce Boyington,
definitely.
Matt Peterson.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Tim Bosch, maybe throw him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, chief, priority right now is Jesse Erickson. But I do want to talk about what is next for Josh as far not opponent, just time frame. Are we
I was
thinking?
gonna say, you're trying to set me
Yeah,
up for the
yeah,
fight.
no.
I already
He's doing it again.
No, I'm not doing that. Just time frame. Are we thinking? May, June? Are you looking to stay active and fight sooner? What are you guys thinking?
I mean, time frame. If it's not for the UFC, then it's for NEF. And they usually do an April and July show.
Yeah, I think so.
Right opportunities at the right time. So we'll see what's on the table.
You did say PFL excites you earlier. What if they came to you and wanted you to compete for them? Would you be like, okay, I'm gonna press pause on my UFC dreams right now and sign a contract to fight for PFL?
The offer's not on the table, so.
But what if it was? What if it was? Would you?
I don't know what that offer would look like, so it's pretty hard to. I would entertain it.
Yeah.
I have an idea of what their tournament numbers are, and I would not be against something like that.
No, okay, very cool.
Like right off the bat, and I'm not going to say specific numbers, but if you're in one of their tournaments, it's the first 2 rounds of the tournament are round robin, so you're guaranteed 2 fights, and the money they pay for those 2 fights, as individual fights, the money they pay for that is actually a little bit better than what you may get on your first contract in the UFC for your first 2 fights. And it's a guarantee. You're like, and it's not only like, so, and this isn't shitting on the UFC. So, standard big show contract is 4 fights, 2 years, whichever comes first. But that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get those 4 fights.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you bang out 4 fights in a year, then awesome. We're on to our second contract.
It almost guarantees you're not going to fight anywhere else for 2 years.
It definitely guarantees that you're not going to fight anywhere else. You know what I mean?
So it could potentially limit you if
right. Whereas
the
the PFL setup is, okay, you're in a tournament, you're guaranteed 2 fights, and here's the date of the first fight, and here's the date of the second fight.
Yeah.
Period.
That's exciting.
Whether you win or lose the first one, because the first 2 fights are round robin. So, obviously you want to win them both, but you get told, here's the date of the first fight, here's the date of the second fight, and so as a fighter, you can look and go, oh, okay, I marked these on my calendar.
Right.
I start training now.
D-Day.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get done with this fight, and I got another. So you've actually got 2 guaranteed paydays coming in, which it is about money, especially at a professional level. Like, everybody needs to get paid for their effort, but also a professional is trying to get to the level where he's making, whether he could make more at another job or not, he's making enough
so it doesn't have to
at the job of fighting, right?
Right.
And so there's your first 2, and then after that, because of that round robin format for the first 2 fights, they figure out a point system. How did you win versus how did you lose? Blah blah blah. Right?
Yeah.
And then that determines whether you got into the semis and what the matchups are going to be for the semis, and then obviously you're in the finals. So those first 2 fights pay well, and then the semis, whether you win or lose, still pay good. And then I think we all know what happens if you win that tournament. You're a millionaire. Well, you're 500,000.
Right.
You know
tax
what I mean?
the crap out of you.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes for any money you make, right?
Right.
Right?
That is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any money you make.
Absolutely.
Trump, let me see him. But their selection for bringing people into the tournament, it's mostly veterans, guys who are veterans of the UFC, guys who have had an extensive career, because those are the guys who put on maybe that bones in front of the dog, and they don't always just take it.
Yeah.
The show.
Yep.
The show is a show.
It's tough fights
Like,
in the PFL
No,
too.
no doubt.
And the other thing is they'll take a risk on an unknown. Like nobody knows who you are, but we've seen these fights that you've had, and you're a killer. So let's put you in. You know what I mean?
I think regardless of what the future is for Josh, I know the New England MMA fight fans are excited to see you keep fighting here regionally, and I'm sure they're going to be soaking it up for as long as they have the opportunity to watch you fight here in the state of Maine. Moving forward, though, we talked about when could potentially be the next time frame. I know everyone's excited about it, but just for this fight here, are you guys expecting a lot of people to be down in Portland supporting you here come February the 8th?
I mean, I don't expect... I don't even know how many tickets I was given, but I don't expect to have any
left
going back. So
great.
I don't expect there to be more than a handful of seats empty in that auditorium.
Yeah, I mean, in general, NEF pretty much sells out their shows, and definitely in general, Josh sells out his tickets. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a guy that, well, he puts the work in to sell tickets.
Sure.
Like you can't just set up a lemonade stand and hope that it happens. But, he puts the work in, but he also, has developed the relationships to be able to sell a good number of tickets and have a good crowd there.
And I'll sell tickets to people who don't like me. It's fine.
Hey, the more the merrier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so, again, February the 8th, Portland, Merrill Auditorium. I look forward to seeing the both of you there come fight night. Look forward to seeing you step back into the cage. It's always a pleasure chatting with you guys.
Probably see you at the weigh-in too, right?
Well, I might make it down for the weigh-ins. I do believe I'll be going on the Big Jab after the weigh-ins to just promote the fight and whatnot. So that's down there in the Portland area.
Just don't talk to me.
Yeah, yeah. I've learned my lesson before, so I'll give you a little space and not bother you too much. But again, guys, I appreciate the time, and I look forward to seeing you on the 8th.
Well,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.